We got a packed show for you today. We're talking Fagioli staying. We're talking Locatelli update. We got the striker list, which is growing and growing. There's a few names are dropping off. A few names are coming up that you may have heard from the past. We'll see what's going on there, as well as the Super League saga continues. Thanks to our friends in Spain. Stay tuned. Ciao ragazzi, welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone. My name is Justin Sofro. Today is Monday, June 21st, 2021, and we've got a big show for you. Like I said, we got a ton of news to run down, so I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. But go ahead, if you can, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel as you can stay up to date with all of our news. We got more shows coming your way. We're only growing bigger from here, so excited to see where we can go. And we want to hear your stories too. So soon in the next coming weeks, we're going to have your stories popping up on here as well. We want to know who you are, so please reach out to us. You can reach out to me at Justin Sofro on Twitter. That's at the @ symbol, JUSTINSOFORO. But let's go ahead and get started today with the news. We've got some Fagioli news. I know a lot of you love Nicky Beans. I want to see where he's going. Gazzetta dello Sport is reporting that Allegri made it clear to the club that he wants to keep Fagioli. The player himself would love to stay. It seems unlikely that he'll be used in the Locatelli deal. So I know a lot of you might be giving a sigh of relief with this news. It's exciting because Fagioli really showed his commitment, and also he's a player who is a Juventini. He's a huge fan of the club, and he wants to have a place going forward. A lot of times that's not really met with the way Plus Valenza, the way it works with Juventus. But it seems that Allegri is really big on this kid and thinks that he has a future. One of the ongoing trends you'll see with the news today, it seems that Allegri, which I don't want to say that I'm surprised by it, but maybe I guess I'm a little bit more surprised that he's definitely looking at youth. He definitely likes the youth movement, and even in some definitely some Italian players too mixed in with that, which is only good for our future. So I'm happy to hear about Fagioli possibly staying. Hopefully he'll get some more playing time going forward. And then we move on to the news of the day, the news of the week, the news of the month. Locatelli updates. We've got Romeo Agresti is reporting that a meeting between Juventus and Sassuolo is bound to take place this week in Milano. There's a lot of talk around Locatelli, of course. It's normal that Sassuolo wants to drive up the price, which makes sense. Like I said, we talked about it in yesterday's video. We had a feeling that more than likely they were going to reject whatever offer was going to come in initially because there's so many clubs coming in after him. So many people want him. Yes, he wants Juventus. Yes, it seems like Juventus is where he's destined to play at. But they want to try to milk that for whatever they can get. Corriere dello Sport is saying that Juve's offer for Locatelli is believed to have been around 25 to 30 million euros plus two players, Dragusin and another young player. Sassuolo is open to doing this kind of deal. Now, this is a little bit more news that we had from yesterday. Kind of surprising. The 25 million range is a bit lower than even I expected. Of course, you go to 30 is what we expected, but 25 seems a bit low. But then when you throw in two players, I guess it depends what kind of quality of player they're going for. Dragusin, definitely a solid young defender, but he's only worth about like 3 million euros or so, maybe 3.5. And then it depends what other young player. I'm guessing since it seems like Fagioli's out of the question, maybe I don't know, maybe he's still possibly on there, but it sounds like Allegri's going to keep him from our last news. But the name that I would imagine would be Rovella, who we'll talk about a little bit later. Otherwise, I'm not sure exactly what they're looking for unless there's somebody else in the youth program. But we'll move on to Giovanni Albanese with the Gazzetta dello Sport is reporting he has news about the Juventus striker situation, saying that Juventus are looking for another striker regardless of Ronaldo's future. They seem to want to pay a lot of attention to age. So this is a big news that, for me, this is pretty big. It was saying they want to pay a lot of attention to the age. So names like Pavoletti, to Llorente, and even Milik are currently frozen. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Milik's the one name that I don't want Milik. I injuries, age, all that. Please, no, not right now. So anyway, I'm sorry. Let's go back into it. Scamacca could be back in fashion. Sassuolo, however, is an expensive shop and could even decide to keep him. A surprise name could be Andrea Petagna, which made his debut at Milan under Allegri. So Petagna is a blast from the past, or maybe not a blast from the past, but a name that I haven't heard in a while. So right now, if you look at Petagna's stats, his market value is about 15 million euros. He's 25 years old, so it's a solid age, right in the middle between youth and he's in that healthy He's on the party side of 30, if you want to say that. So he's still a bit lower down there. So it's a solid age range. And then how he performed last year. Let's see. So not a ton of action. I honestly didn't. He was one that kind of fell by the wayside to me that I forgot about him. I think I remember him more in 2019, 2020 in his performances, but it seems he only played 26 games last year, scored 4 goals and 3 assists, had made 6 Europa League appearances and 3 Coppa Italia appearances with 1 goal there. Of course, he has a history with Allegri. That'd be an interesting name just going forward. Of course, so many of these names just keep popping up. So who knows what there really is there. But the reason I'm definitely taking an interest in it and seeing, it could be serious is because of his history playing under, at Milan under Allegri. What are your all's thoughts on him? What are your thoughts on Battaglia? Would you take him as a possible addition to the club? Who is your preference for a striker? I think we're going to get to other striker names that may be your preference going forward. I know my big one is definitely, he's one that I wasn't sure about at first, but after I've seen more highlights, seen more of him play, talk to people about him, he's probably my number one. If he's likely, we'll see. We'll talk about him in a sec. And then going forward, and then also I guess I'll just talk about the Scamacca situation. Yeah, it's a bit difficult with Sassuolo. Right now we're trying to lock down Locatelli. Honestly, I wish they would have, if they wanted to make a deal about Scamacca, I wish they would have done that in January. It would have been my preference when that market was open, instead of adding nobody when it came to that. But definitely an interesting name to follow. I just don't know how much money, especially because it seems like Sassuolo is intent on milking Juve for as much as they can. Then we got Gazzetta dello Sport is reporting that there's an agreement that Rovella will stay at Genoa for next season. But this can change. Allegri asked the club to bring him back as he would like to keep him in the squad. So that's another bit of interesting information. I think everything that I was hearing the plan was for a long time to keep Rovella at Genoa for maybe a couple years until we bring him back. And now it seems like the hot news has been to possibly use him as a transfer fee reduction for Locatelli. But it does seem that he's another young Italian player that Allegri wants to bring back to the squad. If he brings back to the squad and actually can use him, I'd be interested to see where he goes. I've seen him play against Juventus. I can't say that I watched a ton of Genoa unless they're playing, bigger clubs that were actually had a effect on Juventus this season, especially with the way it turned out this year. But I'm interested to see what that player could bring, especially if they think that he actually has a future with Juventus. Again, a positive for me, young Italian player. Then moving forward, we got Corriere dello Sport is reporting. Why did I say it with an English accent? Anyway, it's sports. Anyway, Corriere dello Sport is reporting that Manchester United wants 80 million euros for Pogba. Juventus remains interested, but not at that price for a player with an expiring contract in 2022. I talked about this, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. All the days just run together for me. I talked about it the other day, basically saying that, it doesn't make sense, especially with Ronaldo only being valued at 30 million euros. Yes, I understand he's valued at that amount because that's how much is left on his contract. But it just seems insane to, expect that amount of money for Pogba. And I guess I should have done this before I started shooting, but is it 80 million euros for next season? Because it still seems a bit out there. I wouldn't imagine it would be so. So correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm sure I'll check it after I've shot this video, and I'll know if I'm an idiot or not. But it just seems insane to ask that price, especially, I understand also, I guess they're maybe not doing this as much for Juventus, maybe for PSG, who has money. They've got all that money to pay for anybody. So maybe that's what they're trying to do and just get whatever they can from PSG because they seem to be willing to pay for it. As it stands, again, I would love to do the Ronaldo swap. If not, maybe it seems unlikely, but maybe see if he'd come back to Juventus on a free. I know he loves Juventus. I would love to see it happen. I think a lot of you share my feelings about that. And then our friends in Spain have an update with the Super League. Some comments from it's actually from the Times. They're reporting that some statements made by Barcelona president Laporta. He's saying, as soon as we receive the green light from the court, we will create the greatest competition in the world of sports, and everyone will want to join us. This already sounds very Trumpian to me. Sorry to get political, but that's what it sounds like to me. UEFA's reaction: apologize, pay us, and beg for forgiveness. It's a monopoly. A new era is coming. It'll take some time, but it's coming. the 6 PL teams that have failed to formally leave the ESL, they remain. Yeah, okay, yeah. To leave the Super League, they remain co-owners and shareholders of a holding company in Spain. 2 senior sources close to the holding say there's no mechanism for withdrawal and the league will be relaunched. So just something to keep an eye on. I know a lot of us are getting, depending on what your feelings are about the Super League, if you feel it's inevitable, if you think it's an affront to the sport, whatever your thoughts are on. I'm sure all of us are just getting, over time, going to get more and more worn down and more, not lethargic, apathetic to the entire situation when it comes to the Super League. So something to keep an eye on. Let me know your thoughts. What you think about what Laporte is saying. Do you think he's right? Do you think it's probably a dead issue? My personal thoughts are it's not a dead issue. It's going to keep coming up. We'll see what happens with it. Whether it's just a thorn in the side of the UEFA for a while, or if it's actually something a serious contender, especially legally. All right. And then I know a lot of you guys, I've seen a lot of comments and posts about wanting him. Gosens, a bit of an update from him. Repubblica Torino is reporting. They're saying that Gosens has become an unrealistic option after his great performances at the Euro. The valuation now would be around 40 million euros, and Juve is keeping Alessandro and Pellegrini as his deputy. So a bit unfortunate, especially for those that have been wanting Gosens, but it's understandable, especially when they've got Locatelli, they've got all these other players. You got to focus on the midfield, but his position is another position of need. Midfield is number one, though. And then especially, I understand too. I was also high on the board of bring Luca Pellegrini back, play him. He didn't have a great season last year. There were, at least the times that I watched him, he gave up really poor positioning a few times when I watched it. But he is young, he can still grow. What are your thoughts on Pellegrini? Do you think that he really is the guy that we should have as a backup? Of course, Alexander, I'm not high on him, but I think Alexander actually performed a lot better this year than he did in 2019-2020, which I was really low on him, and I was low on Danilo as well. So give me your thoughts on that. And then also, Marco Conterio is saying that a meeting with Juventus is scheduled for Gosens. Inter have asked for information, and Koeman has asked for him. Atalanta will start with around a 35 million euro asking price. So it's kind of weird because that kind of goes against what we were just saying. So it appears there's still there's going to be a meeting with Juventus for this player. Whether anything comes of it, we'll see. But that's the latest news. So a little bit conflicting reports, but it still seems like that price might be too high. Maybe Juventus is just trying to feel it out and then they'll back away. But just to keep you updated. And then Romeo Gresti is saying, and this is kind of bigger too, about Ronaldo. I mean, we kind of had this feeling, but we'll go ahead and talk about it. He said that I think Ronaldo knows what he wants to do in his mind. He already found an ideal club for himself. I think he might be talking about PSG. That's within the latest thing, the latest rumors at least, but that's not what Gresti's saying. That's me interjecting. So I apologize for interrupting. But it's normal. The focus is now on the Euro. If he wants to leave, he would need to lower his wage demands. He's an incredible player, but also 36-year-old. Definitely. I argue, I know people argue with me about my takes on Ronaldo, but I do believe Ronaldo is the greatest player to ever play the game. I think he's great, but he's also 36 years old. No player, continues to play at the highest level, and who knows how long this is sustainable. Yes, he's a freak athlete. Yes, he's a freak specimen individual when it comes to athletically and physically, but how long can he really hold out? And, it's just the valuation of if you're going to pay that kind of money, it's hard to do that and continue on not knowing what could happen. I mean, look at Zlatan right now. He's a freak as well, and he's having some injury issues. Who knows if it'll be exacerbated and, continue going on and continue being an issue, or he'll recover quickly. You don't know at that age. So it's just an idea. Again, we don't know what Ronaldo would do. I feel like a lot of the feelings seem to be that he would come back with this 1 more year, mainly because nobody else can really pay him. But if he's willing to lower his wages just to have that opportunity to try to play for, a Champions League, another trophy, we'll see what happens. Then we have Vlahovic. And this is the guy I was heading to earlier. We were talking about before. Tudo Sport has some news about him saying 55 to 60 million euros are needed to bring in Vlahovic. Juventus are thinking about a Chiesa-type deal, a loan plus option. The other option is including a player in the deal with Parin and Rugani being the options. It looks like depending if Drakowski is going to enter will be the issue. I mean, I would again. I don't. I'm not going to get my hopes up, and I'm going to be a bit weary on this just because I just don't know how open Fiorentina will be to doing this deal with Juventus, especially getting Chiesa, the issues in that, and the ongoing issues with that situation. If they want the money, if he's going to leave anyway, I hope he comes to Juventus. I really like what I see from Vlahovic, which is also, I'm not going to say rare, but like it's rare that I go all in on the player, but that's not like Pogba or whatever. That isn't an Italian player. That's just me personally. But definitely keep an eye on going forward what they do there, if he ends up renewing or anything like that. But it seems to me, I know the biggest name for the longest time was Manchester United. Keep an eye on them. I haven't heard anything about them recently. So let me know your thoughts on Vlahovic. Let me know if you have anybody you prefer over him. Who's the best striker that you think that Juventus needs? I'm not going to say besides Ronaldo, because Ronaldo obviously is the best option, but going forward, looking at what we're looking at, what do you think? What do you think is the striker that you want to see wearing the stripes? And then we have just a bit to wrap it up. We have a Calcio Mercato report on Milinkovic. It appears that Milinkovic has decided not to renew the contract that is expiring in 2022. The asking price is around 18 million euros, and Allegri likes the Serbian defender a lot, even more than Demiral, who is on his way out of Turin. So that's what we know. The situation, again, we talked about it every day, basically, when it comes to Demiral. He's getting out. He's on his way out of here more than likely, especially if there's an offer that's beneficial, especially because he's valued around, 35, 40 million or so euros. But I like the idea of adding Milinkovic, especially if you can get him for that kind of price. That would be a solid addition and a replacement for him. Again, I don't know what kind of deal it's going to look like. It's so difficult when you work with these clubs and you're trying to do multiple player deals. So you're trying to do, like, if you look at Sassuolo and you're trying to do Locatelli and Scamacca, or you're trying to do Fiorentina, you're trying to do Milinkovic and Vlahovic or whatever. So I don't know. To me, it seems difficult, especially because these they know what they can do with Juventus. They know that they can try to take as much money as possible. And I don't know right now, Juventus is not in the position to be able to afford all of this. So, who knows? We could end up with none of these players. Well, Locatelli, I think we will. But besides that, who knows about any of the other three players, if that's something that'll actually get done or that'll proceed going forward. Let me know your thoughts on Milinkovic, if that's who your preferred defender that you would add, or if there's somebody else in the market that you think is a hotter commodity. Obviously, Gosens, we know, but anybody else that you can think of. But that's all the news that I have for you today. But check in with us tomorrow to get the latest roundup of all things covering Juventus. Please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it really helps us grow, and we'll be able to bring you more and more content going forward, especially once the Mercato goes live and it really starts heating up. You'll be getting more and more information from us. So don't forget, and also don't forget to hit that bell to get notified as soon as our latest videos drop. So follow Bianconeri Zone at Bianconeri Zone on Twitter and Instagram, and follow me, Justin Sofro, at Justin Sofro on Twitter. Forza Bianconeri, Forza Juve, and Forza Azzurri.